Morning champions. We left PD World this morning at Port Dickson in Malaysia, and we are headed south to, I think the little island's called Pulau Besar. I will check that. In fact, I'll put a little map right here so I can show where we're going. We are riding the tide south right now, so we're getting a little bit of a push, probably about half a knot would be my guess, and we should have that most of the day, I would think. Very, very light breeze coming out of the south-southeast. Probably not enough to sail yet, but what I'll do is I'll motor down to the point just south of Port Dickson, and once we get there, then if I've got some wind, once we get to the open water, then I'll set the sails and away we go. We've got the main up at the moment. It's drawing lightly, but it won't be doing much. Promises to be a very, very hot day today. That's sunrise, not sunset, so it's going to kick some butt today, I think. But it's almost a glass out here. It's very, very calm. And again, I think motoring will be the order of the day. With only you know, a 35-40 mile trip today, we can afford to take our time a little bit. So even though we've only got a very light breeze, about 6 knots, I've decided to just turn the engine off and just do some drift sailing. We're clocking about 3 knots over the ground, which will eventually get us at least towards our destination. So even later this afternoon, if the wind doesn't fill in, then eventually we'll have to motor just to get there before dark. But we'll make as many miles today as we can for free while we've got the wind, even though it's very, very light. This is the big problem. If we run out of internet on board, Tan nearly dies. Anyway, it's going to be a chill, relaxed day by the look of it, just drifting along. One of the benefits of smooth sailing is that Tan feels like cooking. So today for breakfast, we're having Thai tom kha gai.
No, tom yum.
Tom yum gai. So it's this sour soup with chicken, basically, and rice.
Not spicy.
Last night it was my turn to cook. I was pretty tired, so I did toasted cheese sandwiches. We all get that, right? For under sail, we're still light air. We're getting about 6 knots of wind, but I've managed to get our speed up to about 3.5 knots, and we won't get any better than that. This is just about as good as it's going to get. So we'll just continue sailing along and heading for Pulau Besar. Now wind's dropping out and we're down to pretty much just steerage way at the moment. Hardly moving at all. We're about 1 knot in 3 knots of wind. Ay, ay, ay. We're approaching the island of Pulau Besar, this one here. I'm going to sail around, come in here, and we're going to anchor here. Although the wind is coming here from the southwest, and that would be a little bit exposed there, I expect the wind to drop out and then swing around to the north tonight, which would make this a better anchorage than this one. Right now this is the best anchorage, but I think that will change. Either way, we're only getting, you know, 8-10 knots of wind anyway. I don't think that it's going to cause us a problem anchoring on that. It's not exactly a lee shore, but it's not exactly a protected one either. But we can always move if we need to, so we'll do that. This is the island of Pulau Besar. Apparently it's a bit of a tourist holiday island. Right there. You can see some resorts, very expensive ones by the look of them. We're getting a great little sail here today. It eventually filled in. We got about 10 knots of wind, 8 to 10 knots of wind most of the afternoon. And that's allowed us to have a nice sail at around about sort of 4 to 4.5 knots, to 5 knots I guess. So we ended up out of the 35 miles, 40 miles from Port Dickson, motoring the first probably 15, maybe 20, and then sailing the rest, even though we were ghosting along at 2 knots for quite a lot of the time. Anyway, we're going to go and drop the pick here and relax. I need to run up the water maker just to flush it through because it hasn't been used for a while, and water makers don't like not being used. They get growth in their filters, so we're going to run that up maybe get a bit of air conditioning as well. I'm looking forward to that. So I fired up the generator. Still got issues with that heat sensor, although I did email the Fisher Panda guys in Singapore today to see if I could get a new heat sensor delivered to me down at Puteri before we step off for Indonesia. They haven't answered yet. I can only hope. But it's the generator does run, just starts quitting at the start. Anyway, moving on. Generator's running, and I've got the water maker out, which is one of the best pieces of kit we bought for this boat. Just a little disclaimer, we don't get anything out of this, but I do have to say that the Rainman portable kit that we bought, 240 volt, 140 litres an hour, is everything that it said it was going to be, and it's lasted us really well. Produces fresh water, easily 140 litres an hour, maybe just a little bit more, and it's been flawless since we left. It's the one piece of gear on the boat that I always trust. So you can see it here. We do have an episode on how it works. That's the filters there. In the cockpit locker there, I've got the actual unit itself. Plug it into 240 volts. Throw the salt water, I don't know, throwaway exhaust over the side. That's the water intake, seawater intake. Seawater out. And this little hose here goes straight into our water tank and throws out fresh water. So that's easily 140 litres an hour. So you can see that thunderstorm forming south of us here and just starting to cross south of us, expanding out. And that's the edge of the rain that we're starting to feel now. Hopefully this thing doesn't spread too far and just continues moving south away from us. Well, the wind has just arrived in the last couple of minutes. It's coming directly in from the south, which means that we are exposed here on this anchorage. It does look like that thunderstorm is going to skip south of us, but it looks like we're going to get some wind out of it. So I can hear it sort of just starting to hum in the rigging now. Bit of a wall of wind. So this wind is coming out of the southwest. It's putting us directly on the lee shore here at Pulau Besar. Got the anchor alarm running downstairs on the tablet so I can see if we move. I've also got the chart plotter running, I can see if we move. And I'm ready to put to sea at this point. I can start the engine and get the anchor up reasonably quickly and move around to the lee side of Pulau Besar if it really started to, make the boat move. But quite frankly, I think this is likely to pass just as quickly as it arrived. The bulk of it is moving south of us. It's moving in a westerly direction. Unfortunately, look like we've missed the worst of it. It's only missed us by maybe 5 miles, so this thing does appear to be spreading. You can see us there. If we'd been in the anchorage on the northern side of this island and this thunderstorm had come further north, we may have been just as exposed up there. You just never can tell. At the moment we're getting about 20 knots, putting us on a lee shore, on a lee shore. But it does look like it's just skipping south of us, but it is spreading at the same time, so I don't know, just got to play the cards you get dealt, I guess. That wind's just suddenly increased to about 25 knots on that lee shore. Again, seas are still fairly calm at this point. I haven't had a chance to fetch up, and that's what will make us drag more than the wind. But I've obviously got a rain jacket on there, I'm ready to go. We've just nicked the northern side of this system, and it's passing to the west of us, so I think this will be over soon, fingers crossed. Well, that wind does appear to be moderating a little. It was picking up around 27 knots to the lee shore there for a while. It's backed off down to about 16, 17 at the moment as this system moves further west. It looks like it's just skimmed us here on the island. sort of thinking it through, you know, whether I should have anchored on the other side of the island or not. But if this thunderstorm had moved 5 miles further north, we would have been on a lee shore on the northern side. It really makes no difference. We just got unlucky and lucky at the same time. Well, it's pretty much over, Starlight fans. We're down to about 8 knots of wind. Seas have backed right off. The thunderstorm appears to have sort of fallen apart and headed west. Another one sort of reformed a little bit south of us, but it looks like that's falling apart as well, and that whole system is sort of moving west. So that whole process was maybe 2 hours. I'm going to go and lay in bed. We've got the anchor alarm still set, so if we move I'll know about it. But I think we're okay. You can still hear that thunder in the distance. I think we're okay. I'm very tired. Got to be up again in 4 hours, 4.5 hours. Get going. Got a big day tomorrow. 70 nautical miles to the next island in the chain. And I'm so tired.